What's going on, everybody? It's Shameful Penguin here, back with another build guide. Today I'm going to be showing you my league start, which was Volatile Dead Spellslinger. Or Spellslinger Volatile Dead. Haven't decided. But, this build is extremely strong, and as you can see, my HP is through the roof compared to all my other builds. Because, this build just does naturally a ton of damage, so we can just scale life. We can focus way more on life, and through the help of our ascendancy, we just have a lot of extra res we don't need to worry about, and just this is an extremely smooth build. The gameplay you're seeing here is a little bit laggy, and I do apologize. This Delirium League is making my computer work to its extreme, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this build, and we're gonna get into how to make this build. Here's a quick run through of how the skill gems work together. So one of our links, we're gonna have Desecrate and Spellslinger. We do this because we want corpses on the ground. This causes our Volatile Dead to spawn every time, because Volatile Dead needs corpses to consume to be able to be used. So if we link our Spellslinger and to Volatile Dead and a different Spellslinger to Desecrate, we can create these orbs every time we cast our wand skill. Makes it pretty simple. Next, we have Wave of Conviction linked with Spellslinger as well, because Wave of Conviction gives exposure, which is minus res to the enemies. Also, we have Combustion linked to it that gives even more minus res to the enemies we're fighting. Wave of Conviction is not really for the damage. Sometimes it does kill on its own, does a decent amount of damage, but that's not our damage dealer. So if all together at once, it kind of looks like this. And yeah, you could just create hordes of Volatile Dead to sweep through the map. It's pretty fun. Now I will be explaining the passive tree. So to level, you're pretty much going to take this generic route, and we're going to be grabbing Lord of the Dead path, because we were going to be grabbing Spiritual Aid eventually. So this will be damage buffs later on. Grab jewel sockets as you pick up nice jewels. If you pick up jewels and you think it's usable, start specking in some of the jewel spots. But if you don't grab any, just skip these. Okay, skip the jewel sockets until you grab them. Grab decent jewels. As you come up here, grab life. Really helpful. Skip shields until you get a nice shield. Because this is not going to be helpful until you have a shield. While you're leveling, dual wielding wands is going to be helpful for extra DPS, but use shields as soon as you get them. You're going to want to definitely get them late game. Go over here, grab Elemental Overload, grab a Quick Recovery, Spot Down, Retribution, grab Life, grab both Light and Divinity, and Holy Dominion for elemental damage and spell damage. Grab here, grab Life. You can do Divine Judgment here. This is 4 points, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to get Spiritual Aid as fast as I can. So once you come down here, grab this. This is going to be a big damage boost. So once you grab this, then I grab Divine Judgment. And then once I grabbed Spiritual Aid and Divine Judgment, I started here, and then I went straight down to the big life wheel. Continued going down to grab Soul of Steel for the +1 all maximum elemental res. Plus these give a little bit of elemental res, so it's a little bit helpful. Grab this for extra life. Head over here for more life. And then I went back up and grabbed more life in Chaos over here. Optional, if you have extra nodes you want to spec into, or you don't want to travel up here for whatever reason, you can grab these 3 nodes. I will be grabbing these as I level up in the 90s. It's just more life. And you can grab this if you get some better jewels and This is another optional slot for Jewel. I'm not speccing it right now. You could also do this one if you really want to spec Jewels, but as for me, I'm not speccing those yet. I'd rather spec in more life for right now. As for the Jewels, I'll be going over the Jewels with the lookout for right now. You're pretty much going to want to have life on Jewels. Like maximum life on Jewels is super helpful. We are a life build, and we're going to want to have as much life as possible because Delirium likes to one-shot a lot. So what to look out for this one, I got life and area damage. You can have spell damage as well, and fire damage is helpful. I have spell damage on this one. Chance to block, not really as important for chance to block. I got life. Chance to gain onslaught's pretty nice if you can get it. They're pretty easy to get. You just have to do a searching eye jewel and then transmute, and you spam alts until you get that, and then hopefully you get life on it as well. This is not mandatory, but this is the kind of quality of life thing. It increases your attack speed because we're using wands, and we're basing our wand skills are based off attack speed, so it makes it more smooth, as well as movement speed from the onslaught. And for here, I went for I found a large cluster jewel, and I went for Doriana's lesson and Sadist. These are because Doriani's gives us elemental life leech, which is helpful, elemental damage, and also elemental damage if you ignited, chilled, or shocked. So we're going to ignite from the Volatile Dead. Volatile Dead does fire damage. Where is it? Volatile Dead. We do have chance to ignite. It's pretty low. Chill effectiveness, we have chance to chill, and then we have chance to shock, which is really low. But the main reason we use that is because we are using, where is it? Corpse pack. So enemies near corpses you spawned recently are chilled and shocked. So we're going to be getting the chill and shock bonus damage almost every time we spawn corpses, which is every single attack. So I just decided to go with that. These cluster jewels are completely optional. You do not have to take them. You can do more life. You can do block chance, spell block chance. I believe there's one more elemental skill. You can do fire, one of the fire ones. You can do the fire exposure jewel, which is what I was looking for but have not found yet. And other than that, that's pretty much it for the jewels and skill and the passive tree. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. No, it doesn't look like it. Yep. Alright, so if you guys have any questions about what else to look for in jewels, just look at your Volatile Dead. It's a spell, AoE, and fire, so look anything that increases that damage or life. That's pretty much it. Next we'll be going into the Ascendancy. The Ascendancy, first you're going to be going to is Plaguebringer. This is because it brings us closer to Corpse Pack, but it also gives us additional damage and damage reduction. Next we're going to be going to the Corpse Pack. Gives us a bunch of extra damage, 30% if you've consumed a corpse recently, which we always do. 2% attack and cast speed for each corpse consumed, so we can ramp up our attack speed pretty well. I'll show you guys in a sec. Enemies near you, enemies near corpses you spawn are chilled and shocked, and it's a pretty big range, so pretty much everything gets chilled and shocked. But you can see my attack speed ramp pretty fast. So yeah, you get a pretty good attack speed by just holding it down for a little bit, approaching like 3 attacks per second when I'm only supposed to be at like 1.6, so it's pretty good. Next we will, after these two, go into Commander of Darkness. This gives us 30% increased damage, which is pretty nice. 30% elemental res, which is super helpful actually. I was considering not using it and using Essence Glutton. You can do this instead. It helps energy shield builds a lot more in your mana, but we're not really ever hurting on mana, so it's not really a thing to worry about too much. This is kind of a thing you can try either or, but I recommend Commander of Darkness for your 3rd Ascendancy, and your 4th ascendancy, you're going to do Mistress of Sacrifice. Offering skills affect you, and this helps us with our bone offering. This gives us block chance, and we have it linked to cast when damage taken, so we get a lot of block chance because we're using a shield. We have a little bit of block from this, and yeah, I'm not using the correct shield right now. This one just happened to be better. You want to be using a energy shield. But anyways, these are the ascendancies. You go Plaguebringer, then Corpse, then Commander, and then Mistress on your final trial. For the bandits, you're going to want to help Alira if this is a league start for you. If this is not a league start, I recommend killing all for the extra ascendancy points. Alira, we're not going to be using the crit that much on this build because we are using Elemental Overload, so it's going to be not as helpful for the crit multiplier. We're just purely using it for the elemental resistances. Next, I'll be going over the gem links. Our main damage skill is Volatile Dead. I have that linked to Spell Cascade and Spellslinger. This is the 3 link you're going to want in the beginning. As you get a 4 link, you're going to want Inspiration. Inspiration will not work when it's by itself on here because we are not using mana to cast Volatile Dead. So you will need to have Inspiration on your wand skill. So now you can see inspiration charges gaining. If for whatever reason you don't want inspiration, you can go with Control Destruction, or you can go with Conk Effect earlier on your 4 link, but I recommend having inspiration because it's a good damage boost and it's pretty consistent because we're casting. As a 5th link, you're going to want Hypothermia. This is going to give bonus damage to chilled enemies. We're going to give chill effect, freeze them, all that stuff. Super helpful, good damage boost. And as a 6th link, you're going to want Conk Effect for that extra damage. Next, for the next Spellslinger, we're going to have Desecrate with Spell Cascade and Spellslinger. This creates the things on the ground. That's all we want as a 3 link. We don't need it as a 4th link. Our next Spellslinger link, and our last one, is going to be with Wave of Conviction. This gives them, this is the wave you can see right here. This gives elemental exposure and does a little bit of damage. It's kind of nice, but it gives elemental exposure, which gives a minus res, and we link that to combustion, which gives additional minus resistance, which makes our Volatile Dead do much more damage. And then I have a little Flame Dash linked right here. You can also link it to a ring or wherever you find space, but I have it right here because this is all you kind of need for your Wave of Conviction. If you somehow get Flame Dash open on our, you can put it on a ring, or you can put on an amulet or wherever. You can put Ice Bite as a 4th link to give you frenzy charges when you kill with the Wave of Conviction. This will give you a little bit of bonus damage and help you out a little bit, but overall it's not necessary, but if you're min-maxing, I would consider that. Next, we're going to be going over our wand skill. I went with Barrage. We have a Curse on hit, and then we have Inspiration to proc our Inspiration on Volatile Dead. But I went with Barrage because you can see that, let me get away from the corpses. The corpses spawn and we consume them at the same time I cast. But if we put on something like Frenzy, or this same thing applies to Power Siphon, we only cast our corpses when I cast it once. Barrage will cast both the corpses and consume them at the same time. So I'm just showing you guys this. This creates for smoother gameplay, but if you are not worried about casting twice, which is not really the biggest deal, but if you guys prefer Frenzy or Power Siphon for whatever reason, go ahead and use that. But Barrage just feels the smoothest for my type of gameplay. Next, I'll go with this. We have Fortify, Shield Charge, and faster attacks. Yeah, that's our main movement other than Flame Dash. but if you ramp up your attack speed through our ascendancy, you can get some pretty good attack speed. So your shield charge feels pretty nice. This also helps with getting attack speed on things like our gloves and our wands. But we also have linked, or not necessarily linked to it, but we also have Molten Shell. This gives us bonus survivability. Even though we have a lot of health, a lot of things still attempt to one-shot us. Things, especially things in Delirium. So this is our extra in case we get hit by something big, so we don't die. Lastly, we have our cast when damage taken set up. To this, we have linked Bone Offering and Tempest Shield. This gives us an immense amount of block for our so we don't die immediately in this. So Tempest Shield gives a decent amount of block, and then our Bone Offering gives us a lot more block. So these together kind of give us just a lot. Tempest Shield is not required if you are struggling with links. Bone Offering is more important, and we are able to use Bone Offering because of Mistress of Sacrifice. It says your offering skills also affect you. Otherwise, Bone Offering wouldn't apply to us, so we get that 30% block, which is really nice. Tempest Shield, link that if you don't have the Mistress yet, and just kind of wait on Mistress. So you don't need Bone Offering until you have Mistress of Sacrifice, which you get in your 4th trial. Now I'll be explaining the gear. Most of you probably see impulses. I'm like, oh god, not this. I'm using impulses because I found it on the ground and it was pretty freaking fun. So don't use impulses. Don't buy it because it's like, oh, this build needs impulses. No, it doesn't. This is what I use. I use this random chest piece that has life. That's all. I'm also just found this other chest piece that I'm gonna maybe link. It has 136 life and 9 to max life, and it has some okay res and some okay energy shield. So this is actually a little bit better if I get this 5 linked. But for now, I started using impulses because it was pretty fun. If you don't know, or you didn't, if you're skipping ahead in the video, enemies near corpses you spawn recently are chilled and shocked. And guess what impulses does? It explodes enemies that are shocked. So we guarantee shock with our cast, and then everything pops. It's pretty freaking fun. You can also use the explodey chest. I believe it's on Warlord now. I think you need it like eye level 85 though. I'll show it on the screen right now. But I know it's not too good. Might be expensive. Haven't looked into it because I kind of just happened to get in impulses. But if impulses for whatever reason becomes cheap, I recommend trying it out, see what you like. And it's just pretty fun for instant clear. This build kind of, you have to like build up a legion and then walk through, and it kind of kills everything. With impulses, you kind of cast less of them and you walk over and everything just pops. You can cast it straight on top of them and all of them will die. It's pretty great. But yeah, just go with a regular whatever linked thing. There's no uniques in this build other than this, but this is just because it dropped for me. Wands. So wands are going to be weird. They're pretty cool, but you're going to want to have spell damage. I'll show you the wands I was using before this wand. Oh, I actually just sold one of my wands. Awkward. I was using this one. No. Yeah, I was using this one way early on because it has fire damage. So if you don't know, Spellslinger, if you read what it says under Spellslinger support, supported skills have added spell damage equal to 79% of damage of equipped wand. This increases as the level goes on. This is only level 12 because I just qualityed all of them right now. But you get 79% of damage of equipped wand. If you have 2 wands, it's half, whatever. But you have 79%. So if you have like, so you see I have base fizz and then base elemental fire on this wand. So that's going to be converted to spell damage onto the volatile dead. So it gives us a good damage boost. So now you're actually, it's really weird. You're looking for local fire damage or local elemental damage. You can do local fizz, you can do local whatever, and it'll apply to your spells from now on if you're using Spell Slinger. So it's super cool. It makes for different builds. So you're looking for added fire damage to your skills. You're also looking for fire damage to spells, of course, and spell damage. I got non-chaos as extra chaos. You can do fire as extra chaos. You can, but ideally on the wand, I'm gonna want +1 of all fire spell gems. That's probably one of the best with high spell damage and high added fire and added fire to spells with attack speed. That's the most ideal, but it's a little harder to find. I actually bought this wand for like 10C. I think I bought it for 10 chaos. Super cheap, especially for league start. They're not the hardest to find. You can just find whatever with spell damage and fire damage and added fire. If you find any combo of that, you're just kind of set and just use it. As for your shield, you're gonna want spell damage. I did gain fire as extra chaos because I found it this way. Didn't really mean to do it. I was actually looking for +1 of fire, of all fire gems, kind of like your wand. You want that on your shield as well because it's a huge damage increase for Volatile Dead. Then you're gonna want life on your shield because you can get a lot of life on your shield. So main things to look out for: spell damage, life, and then secondary, and then resistance as you need it, but it's not mandatory. And then lastly, as you're getting into spending a little more on your shield, you're gonna want to have +1 of fire spell gems or damage as extra chaos. Super helpful. Next, I'm going over the helmet. I purchased this helmet with 40% Volatile Dead damage with no good rolls on it, and I used some essence. I just threw on, which ones did I throw on? I believed I threw on a Essence of Greed, one of the higher up ones, and then you get a high roll, and then get some resistance on here if you need resistance, but we're pretty good on account of Commander of Darkness and Soul of Steel and Holy Dominion. We have a lot of extra resistance helping us out, so I'm not really getting too high resistance on my personal gear, but if you need resistance, go prioritize resistance over health more so on the rest of this gear. So on the helmet, next on the gloves, you're going to want to prioritize life and resistance. I didn't, because I really didn't need resistance at this point. I was working on these gloves, or I just found these gloves and I'm like, hey, I just want a huge life and an open suffix so I can craft attack speed, because you want attack speed for the wand skill and the shield charge. And then you're gonna want so yeah, get resistance on here if you want. Also get dexterity on your rings or your gloves or whatever you can fit, because Volatile Dead level 20, I believe it needs 110 dexterity, and I'm barely there, and I have it on a few things, not any crazy rolls. You can do the dexterity amulet. That actually was what I was using before. I'll go over that later, but make sure you have enough dexterity. Make sure this is level 20, and then hypothermia will hit level 20 as well. Those are important because those are your damage dealers. Next, your boots. You're gonna want movement speed, life, and res. That's it. Pretty simple. Pretty much like every build. And then your belt, I went with an abyssal one because I had life, but you can also go with normal belts. I'll show you some of the belts I was using before. I was using this belt early on because I got this to drop and had 92 life and some res. Then I was using this belt because I had 98 life and I didn't prioritize resistance as much. And then I found this one and I crafted life, and then I happened to just be okay with only life on it. This is also a nice place you can get dexterity on it if you need to increase your dexterity, so you can. Next, I'm going to be going over the amulet. Amulet, you're going to want life and res. That's it. If you get a little more free with your money, go for fire damage, spell damage. Non-chaos is extra chaos, and plus to all fire spell gems. I believe that's another one. Get those on it if you can. If not, just go for life and res. Don't worry about the implicit projectiles pierce 2 additional targets. This is a thing that just happened to be on it. Doesn't really help me out too much, because the main thing we want our barrage to curse is bosses, so it's pretty easy. You don't need pierce. As for the rings, you're gonna want to get resistance and life, and resistance and life. This is where I get most of my resistance and life. You can do like fire damage or things like that on it, but just get resistance and life. That's the biggest thing to grab on these pieces of equipment. As for the flasks, I'm using a Seething Divine Flask of Dousing, so you're gonna want to get the generic bleed immunity, freeze immunity, curse immunity. So those are my 3 right here. And then you're gonna want a Seething Divine Flask, because it gives you instant recovery, which is pretty nice, almost 1,000 health instantly. You want a Quicksilver because almost every build uses it. And then I'm using a Jade and a Granite, just 3,000 evasion and armor flat. It's really nice to have for defensive. I want the increased duration, and then increase effect on this one, just because they happen to roll that way. You can go either or just worry about the suffix. Make sure you have bleed, freeze, and curse. And then I went with a Wise Oak because they're cheap, and if you can plan it correctly, make sure your uncapped oh, something changed. Oh, it's because I took this off. Yeah, well, no, it wasn't. So awkward. No, yeah, awkward story. So you want your fire resistance, uncapped fire resistance, to be the highest, because if your damage penetrates 15% fire resistance for each element of which your uncapped element resistance is the highest. If you can have them all equal, that's best case scenario, but I don't expect that to happen. But yeah, so yeah, you want your fire resistance to be the highest, and then you're gonna get 15% fire pen. Awkward story, I haven't been using that apparently. I don't know what changed in my build to make that not happen, but I'm gonna look into that. For leveling this build, you level it more like a caster than a necromancer, even though this build is a necromancer. So to do this, we're gonna level with Freezing Pulse and Arcane Surge, and then once you get access to Add a Lightning, clap that on, then you're gonna be doing a little bit of damage. And then I leveled with, once I got there, you can level with Arc. Well, that's what I did. I leveled with Arc until I got to Act 3, and then once you get to Act 3, you do a quest, and then you're going to be able to get Spellslinger, and then you can be able to link with Desecrate and Volatile Dead to Spellslinger with Spell Cascades, and then you're going to be doing a bunch of damage. So that's what I did. You can use Stormbrand instead if you prefer. You can kind of use whatever, but as you pass gems leveling up, you're going to want to pick them up as you're able to get them, so you can have them be that higher level. So things like Combustion, you're going to pass, especially Volatile Dead, you're going to pass. So pick up Volatile Dead, pick up, do you get Bone Offering? I know you get Spirit Offering, but yeah, anyways, yeah, Bone Offering right there. So you're going to pass a bunch of gems on your way leveling that you can't be able to, or you won't be able to use yet, so make sure you pick those up so you get them leveled as you're leveling up. But it's pretty simple. Just use Arc, Add a Lightning, and Arcane Surge, and once you get to Act 2, you can socket Control Destruction onto Arc, and you can get some really nice damage with the Arc. It's pretty easy to level, so I won't worry too much about you guys leveling up. It's pretty simple. It's just a spellcaster leveling setup. You can do the Orb of Storms and frost bomb leveling up method if that's what you prefer, because we are going through spell damage, and then we're going over here, hit a little dry spell through damage, get some life, and then we're gonna hit damage, and then we're gonna spike damage over here again. So it's like high damage, you're gonna fall off a little bit. Well, you're gonna hit a lot of damage when you hit this. You're gonna fall off a little bit, start to get more damage, and then you're gonna hit your pocket of damage over here. So just remember that while you're leveling as well. So if you're feeling like you're in a lull, that's probably because you're over here-ish, or you're like approaching here. Like, you don't hit your damage on this wheel until you get spiritual aid. So when you're over here or here, you're not going to feel it yet. So you want to get that spiritual aid going when you're leveling. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the leveling. Pretty shallow version of how to level, but I think you guys can handle it. It's really easy. If you guys have a different thing you prefer to level with and do, then do it. But this is a league start, so it's kind of a thing that you just do and see what you get at that point. Now we're going to be going to the anointed oil. So what I'm going to be doing is, with this current setup, going with Heart of Flame, because I want more damage in this build, and you get penetration, and you get a little bit of leech energy shield, which we do have like 500, so it would be a little bit helpful. Another thing you can go into, if you're not committed to going all the way down here, hit Soul of Steel with your anointment. It does a lot of health. Otherwise, do things like Juggernaut. This gives you life recovery from Flask and life, and just any of the life nodes. And yeah, and if you're struggling for whatever reason, which I'm not, if you do a different sort of setup and you're struggling with casting your spells, like, you can see that I have 96 reserve, but if I had a 6 link, it'd be even less, but I'm still going to be able to cast because of calculations. But if you need to, grab a couple of these so your so you can cast your spells better. But as for anointments, just I would go with this one. For if you're doing my exact build, go with this one because it's going to give more damage. And if you're not, I recommend getting Soul of Steel because it's all res, or get any of these big life ones. You could grab Golem's Blood for life. You can grab this one if you want a little bit of evasion. Over here, you can grab any one of these life ones. They're all decent. They're all good at their own things. So if you have the oils for it, go for it. But yeah, anyways, Heart of Flame is what I'm going to be going for. Lastly, I'm going to be going over a little rambling sesh. Thanks for watching the video. I'm going to explain some things that I want to just touch on in case people ask. I know some of you guys are curious on what I think. Some of you aren't. If you're not, go ahead and skip to the end. Thank you so much for watching. Also, another thing, I didn't record as much gameplay as I did previous leagues for this video, so you guys saw a short snippet of the gameplay, but I didn't show much because my computer lags really hard with this new league update 3.10. My computer is not the best. I know Volatile Dead does rip your computer a little bit, but Delirium League overall has made my computer struggle, and then especially if I'm trying to record while doing this, my computer likes to freeze up a lot. So I had a lot of recordings, a lot of them couldn't use, a lot of it was just me being frozen for a couple seconds. But yeah, that's why you're not going to see as much gameplay. I'm sorry about that. But if you guys are interested in more laggy gameplay, I can upload that as a separate video if you guys want. But same with the streaming. I couldn't really stream this league with all the lag. But I'm going to explain. I tried to go crit with this build. It did not work out. Well, it did. I got more damage because I hit all these like these crit nodes. You hit this boy, this guy, this wheel of crit, and then I don't think I went down here. I don't think I went down here to this one, but you hit a decent amount of crit. I had some good crit multiplier. and I actually lost a lot of, I lost like over 2,000 life, because man, this is a lot of life down here. But yeah, I lost a lot of life, did get a good damage increase, but didn't really feel worth it. So unless I spec into it differently, or I get some like much better gear somehow for crit, as my current setup, it's not worth it for me. You guys are more than welcome to try it out, and if it works out for you, give me your POB. I want to take a look at what you guys did and might try it myself. Alright, that's it for the crit. Next, you can really easily go CI with this build, because if you notice a common thing is that we're really milking the life on this build. We're really getting a lot of life, and we're spending a lot of points getting to the life, especially over here. Same thing could be said about speccing around to get energy shield. We can really get a lot of energy shield on this build, but I didn't do that because this is technically a league starter, and going CI on a league starter isn't as friendly, because you don't go CI until you hit like late 70s on it, for me at least, and because you're gonna need some really nice gear, really nice like energy shield gear to do that. This build can completely do it, and I would recommend it if you guys want. And if you guys are going CI, try out Essence Skeleton, because you're going to generate 8% of energy shield over 2 seconds when you consume a corpse. We're constantly consuming corpses, and for each nearby corpse, you and your allies regenerate 0.2 energy shield per second, up to 2% per second. That's a lot of energy shield regen. I mean, maybe not as much as a cultist, but this really does help a lot. So like, you guys could go through this part, go up here, grab this wheel, just ignoring all the life, and it seems very doable. And I highly recommend it if you guys are interested in trying it out with a certain build and kind of want to do your own thing with it, because there is a lot of energy shield that you can go to, and it would be even less traveling than we're doing currently. But that's it. That's kind of all I want to talk about before I get too rambly. Thank you guys so much for checking out the build. I appreciate you guys. This build was taken off inspiration of Zizaran's build. It's pretty much exactly the same, but I took it and understood it a lot more, because from watching his video, I feel like I didn't understand exactly everything. He kind of went over a vague how to level video and then explained this build a little bit, and I feel like I went a little more in depth than him, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this helped you out, and if you're having a league start with this in the future league start, hopefully nothing's nerfed from this. This is an excellent league start build, like I would say top 5 of my league starts, maybe top, I don't know. Is a really nice build. The only problem with this build is Delirium is making my computer lag really hard. Otherwise, this would be the easiest league start, because I'm already level 89 and I haven't really put a crazy amount of hours, as much as I usually do. So yeah, tank this build for me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know by leaving a like on this video if you like these builds. And I'll consider doing more build guides. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys later. Peace.